Nervous at all for you, Mike?
No, they're nervous for you, bro. I think I'm too old for this fight. You need to come tell me in my face. Whoa.
Mike Tyson just did something that left everyone's jaws on the floor, especially Jake Paul's. You know, the guy who's been yapping nonstop, even going so far as to mock Tyson's health issues like that's ever a good idea. Well, Tyson just reminded everyone why he's called Iron Mike, and trust me, Jake learned the hard way. Here's a little life lesson for Jake. When a legend with more experience, skill, and even age is keeping quiet, it's not because he's weak or afraid to speak up. It's because he simply doesn't care about your nonsense. But poke the bear enough, and you better be ready to deal with the consequences. Jake Paul strutted into that press conference on August 18th like he owned the place, dripping with arrogance after his recent win against Mike Perry. He acted like he had the whole world in his corner, tossing out lines like, "I'm not scared. I was born for this moment," as if he was some kind of chosen one. But guess what? Mike Tyson wasn't buying it. Tyson didn't even flinch. Instead, he let Jake's bravado bounce right off him, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And strike he did, but not with his fists. Mike Tyson isn't just known for knocking people out cold in the ring. He's also a master at messing with their heads long before the first punch is even thrown. And if you thought Tyson's punches were lethal, wait until you see what he does with his words. Tyson went for Jake's Achilles heel, his fitness. With just a few words, Tyson popped the balloon of Jake's overconfidence, telling him to be in good shape because your health depends on it. Ouch. That was a blow straight to the ego, and everyone in the room could see it.
We're gonna fight on the biggest stage possible. It's destiny. And now here we are, years later, actually making it happen. I was made for this moment, born to do this, and I'm gonna put on the performance of a lifetime on November 15th, and the universe will align for all of its glory and good for God.
But it wasn't the loud, in-your-face kind of comment you might expect. Nope, Tyson casually dropped a line about Jake's fitness, or let's be honest, the lack of it. He didn't even raise his voice, he just pointed out the obvious. Jake's been packing on a few too many pounds. Now, Jake Paul has a big mouth, we all know that. But the talk isn't about his usual loud antics, it's about his gut. Yep, Jake's been looking a little puffier lately, and people aren't whispering anymore. His fitness, or the lack of it, has become the hot topic. And honestly, it's not a good look. While he's been out there living the high life, partying like there's no tomorrow, fans and critics alike have been shaking their heads, wondering if this guy even knows what a gym looks like anymore.
Jake! Hey, Jake. How are you?
And Jake didn't take it well. His cocky smile faded fast, and he shot back with a defensive,
I didn't bring him to do shit. I'm here to make $40 million and knock out a legend.
That response? It was all the proof anyone needed that Tyson had hit a nerve. The cracks in Jake's armor were showing, and he knew it. The guy who had been all swagger and no fear just a minute ago was suddenly on the ropes, mentally scrambling to hold his ground. This was more than just some harmless back and forth. Jake tried to brush it off, but the truth was, Tyson had exposed a weakness that Jake had been desperately trying to hide. And in a fight like this, psychological warfare is just as crucial as the physical battle. Tyson didn't bother matching Jake's energy. Instead, he stayed calm, almost too calm, watching Jake with this look that said, "I've seen 1,000 guys like you, and they all end up the same." Now here's the thing. Tyson knows exactly what he's doing. He's been in the game too long to let Jake's wannabe tough guy act throw him off. Tyson's comment wasn't just a throwaway line. It was a jab straight to Jake's ego, a calculated move to mess with his head. And let's be real, it worked. Jake tried to play it cool, but his quick, almost panicked response? That was all we needed to see. The dude's rattled. And when your confidence is as shaky as your conditioning, that's a big problem. The whole room felt the shift. People started chuckling, but not just because it was funny. There was this sense of, wait, is Jake actually ready for this? It's one thing to talk big, but if you're huffing and puffing halfway through the fight, all the swagger in the world isn't going to help you. And Tyson, being the legend he is, knows that. He's been through this before. He knows how to break someone down without even breaking a sweat. By the time the press conference ended, it was clear who had come out on top, at least in the mind games department. The media was buzzing, and the headlines practically wrote themselves. Jake Paul's bravado had finally met its match, and Tyson had shown the world that he was a strategist, a master of the mental game. Jake's weight gain is the big red flag waving in front of everyone's face. Tyson called him out. And now Jake's scrambling to prove he's not just all talk. Where Tyson's already planted the seed of doubt, not just in Jake's mind, but in everyone watching. And when people start doubting you, especially before the fight has even started, you've already lost half the battle. Now the big question isn't whether Jake can win this fight. It's whether he can even make it through the fight without gassing out. The press conference wasn't just about promoting the event, it was Tyson playing a little mental chess, and Jake? Well, he's a few moves behind, to say the least. As the days tick down to fight night, Jake's not just going to be sweating in the gym, he's going to be sweating over those words Tyson dropped. Every time he looks in the mirror, every time he steps on the scale, those doubts are going to creep back in. And that's exactly what Tyson is counting on. By the time the bell rings, Jake might already be beaten, not by Tyson's fists, but by his own insecurities. Jake's whole attitude seemed to be propped up by his recent win against Mike Perry, like that one victory suddenly made him unbeatable. But here's where the naivety kicks in. Beating Perry is one thing, but Tyson? That's a whole different level of danger. We're talking about a guy who's not just powerful in the ring, but who can mess with your head before you even get there. Deep down, Jake knows this. That's why his over-the-top confidence felt so hollow, like it was all for show, working only until someone dared to challenge it. And just when you think Jake Paul couldn't get any more disrespectful, he comes out swinging with a low blow, mocking Tyson's health. You had to go on your little menopause break and postpone the fight. Your tummy hurts still? Because clearly taunting a legend about needing a menopause break is the smart move, right? But hey, that's Jake for you, classy as ever.
For real, on a real record. You're gonna see on BoxRec, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Jake Paul KOs Mike Tyson. I'm not here to do shit besides make a bag.
Jake's made a career out of being the cocky underdog, the loudmouth who somehow manages to back it up, at least against opponents who are all bark and no bite. But this time it's different. The stakes are higher, and Tyson is someone who knows how to get inside your head and rip apart your defenses long before the fight even starts. He was questioning his mental toughness, his capacity to handle the pressure when the lights are the brightest. And when you're about to step into the ring with a legend like Mike Tyson, your physical condition isn't just important, it's everything. Boxing is all about surviving those landing punches and having the gas to keep going when every muscle in your body is screaming for you to stop. And let's not kid ourselves, Tyson, even in his later years, is still a beast. Jake's conditioning could very well be the deal breaker here. It's easy to talk tough, but when the fight gets real, when the punches start landing and your body starts to betray you, that's when the truth comes out. If Jake isn't in the kind of shape he needs to be, Tyson's going to see it, and he's going to make him pay for it. Tyson's no rookie. He knows how to exploit a weakness, and if Jake's fitness is lacking, that's going to be a big blinking target. And just when you thought Jake Paul couldn't ramp up the arrogance any further, he goes all in with, "I'm knocking this Trisk out, and we're going to see who's dead." We will see who's dead, Mike. We will. Bold words from a guy who's yet to face a real legend in the ring. But that's Jake, never short on bravado, even when he's in way over his head.
At the end of the day, people are always gonna have something to say. It's because of who I am. It's because I proved everyone wrong. Reminder, the most hated and most criticized boxer in the sport of boxing before they loved him was Muhammad Ali.
In the lead up to this fight, Jake's been doing his best to keep up his usual bravado. But the way he jumped to defend his condition shows that even he knows it's a weak spot. This fight isn't just about who can throw the hardest punches. It's about who can last, who has the endurance to keep going when the going gets tough. Tyson's comment was a strategic strike aimed right at Jake's confidence. And the reality is, if Jake's not in peak form, he could be in for a rude awakening when the fight begins. As the big day approaches, everyone's watching Jake's conditioning like a hawk. Will he rise to the occasion, or will his lack of preparation be the thing that brings him down? Tyson's words have already started to mess with his head, and that could end up being the biggest factor of all. Because in boxing, just like in life, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And if Jake isn't in the right shape, both physically and mentally, he might be in for a lesson he won't soon forget, courtesy of one of the greatest fighters of all time. Mike Tyson's words were more than just friendly advice. It was a warning, plain and simple. And if you know anything about Tyson, you know he doesn't throw around empty threats. November 15th isn't just another fight on the calendar, it's a ticking time bomb for Jake Paul, and Tyson's making sure he hears every second of it. As the world watches and waits, the stakes have never been higher. For Jake, it's about validating his place in the sport. For Tyson, it's about maintaining his legacy. The countdown to November 15th has begun. And whatever happens, the fallout will be felt long after the final bell. Can he hang in the ring with Tyson, or is he going to fold under the pressure? Because here's the deal. You can't Instagram your way out of a fight. No amount of flashy posts or cocky one-liners is going to save you when you're face-to-face with Tyson, and trust me, if Jake doesn't get it together, that face-to-face is going to be real short-lived. Don't miss out on this epic showdown. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you're the first to catch all the action.